Our office submitted our engineer's report on Monday. The updates are in bold there. Hopefully the engineer's report's in your packet. I'm just going to call your attention to a couple things this evening. First is item 6 on the engineer's report. Wanted to pass along that after a year under review, the MS4 permit pollution reduction plan amendment was approved by DEP. So it only took a little over a year. We submitted it last April. This will enable us to move away from what was originally proposed with the inlet filter bags and move towards those other stormwater projects that we had proposed in that PRP amendment. So we have the duration of our new permit term, which will run through the next 5 years to implement those projects. And we even got grant money to install this project. So good things happening with our MS4 permit. Janice and Ken and I participated in a meeting today with Carload Express, the railroad company, regarding the situation over at Railroad Street. I thought it was a pretty productive meeting. We were able to kind of get all on the same page with a preliminary plan, at least, of how we can move forward with that. So I think the next step for that would be to have the Public Works Department put together a construction cost estimate, and to have our office put together an estimate of what we think it will take to get that designed from an engineering standpoint. And then maybe at our next meeting, we could have that as an agenda item so that we could talk about what direction we want to go with Railroad Street, because it is somewhat of a complicated project with some different players involved, the railroad, the utility companies, and so forth. So that's where that stands. But the discussion today was productive. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about was the current grant applications that are open and available to us. Our office is wrapping up the application for I&I investigation down in El Rama for small water and sewer. We have a resolution agenda item tonight, and we'll get that submitted before the end of this week. And then there's another program, the fiscal year 2026 federal appropriations. This is congressionally directed spending. It's always a mouthful to say that. But, we applied for some federal money back in 2023 for the Finneyville Rama Road Sewer Project. We didn't apply for anything last year, but basically it's an 80% grant, 20% match program. We can submit applications through May 2nd. So this is under Senator Fetterman's program. The application window opened last week, so I wanted to bring it up here. It's another opportunity for us to apply for infrastructure money. So we can think about that. And we don't need a resolution, we just need a cost estimate and a project description. So maybe give that a little bit of thought, and we can decide if there's any other grants that we want to apply for through the federal appropriations. So, unless there's any questions from the board members or from the public.
If you have one.
Sure.
Did the power company tie in the electrical supply to the building up in Mexico? You know?
I don't know.
I'll ask Kenny.
Yeah, I don't know the status of that.
We were down inside with at the time.
Also, could you tell the board about the Carrie Fox redevelopment
Yeah.
authority? So that all came up just recently in the last couple of days.
Yeah, that happened Monday afternoon. I got a voicemail from Carrie Fox with the County Redevelopment Authority regarding the Community Development Block Grant monies that we got. We were notified that we had some grant money available
This
to
is for
us.
the walkways and handrails at Veterans Park.
For handicap, ADA.
Right.
ADA, so that's,
Right.
but we chose to put those walkways and handrails in because it had been so, we couldn't open the park for years without them, so.
Yeah.
So,
This an expansion? grant?
well, this is for that original, what me and Diana had put through was the original drawing from
I remember
Clapjack.
that, yeah.
So, he was coming out today with an engineer in Carrie Fox to look at the project that has already been done. So, TJ, you can take over the
Yeah,
rest.
so I talked to him, kind of explained to him what was going on. We applied for grant money, then, you know, obviously we needed to open the park, did the work, found out we were gonna get the grant money. So I kinda let him know where we stood with the sidewalks and handrails at Veterans Park. And I told him there's additional sidewalk and handrail that we do wanna put in over there, because right now you don't have a way to get from the parking space over to the actual playground. You can only go up to the baseball field. So Carrie suggested that we schedule a meeting to talk about, since that scope of work is slightly different than what we originally had planned on. Carrie suggested, let's get together where he can come out here, meet with us as a group, and then they can move that scope of work forward, and probably we'd be able to use that grant money later this year to do a slightly different project, but still a
The
veteran.
same park
So-
for the same reason, same kind of thing.
So I think we're on the same page with redevelopment authority now, and I can reach out to Carrie, let him know that we talked about it, and then we're good to go ahead and schedule a meeting if that works for you
How much
guys.
was the grant money for?
I think we have $75,000.
So in other words, it's an expansion of ADA access to.
So,
Yeah.
right now we have access to the ball field, but we don't necessarily have access to the playground.
Right,
Couldn't get there if you run on water.
yeah.
Yeah. So, we had the grant, but we already did the project, so TJ was already out here with the, Railroad Street project. And so I asked him if he would meet with Kerry Fox, since he was already out here.
Right.
I think we got it straightened out. We just need to meet with them as a
Another
group.
addition to the park.
Yeah.
TJ?
Yeah.
I have a question on this
Sure.
federal appropriation.
Yeah, for sure.
It says on here the deadline to apply is May 2nd.
Yeah, next Friday.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we are going to apply for it, or?
Well, I always like to introduce you guys to the opportunity first, and then if there are any projects that you want us to move ahead with, just let us, it's not hard to apply for this program in particular. It's
Yeah.
a cost estimate and a description, so it's pretty easy for us to pull together. We just need to talk as a group here amongst ourselves as to what we wanna apply for, if there's anything we want to apply for.
Marina's storage system is how old?
Probably back in 2010, 2011, we did that.
Yeah, maybe like we started like 08 and then went on for a while. So I mean, probably gonna be issues, you know, there's a lot of sewer lines there, this is infrastructure.
Could we do something with
Good
the,
luck.
do something with the overall revenues with this?
Possibly right now, they're not failing, but maintenance maybe, I don't know.
Could you use it for like maintenance
Um,
on the gun rooms?
I don't know. It's a good question. I was sort of thinking roadway projects with this.
Oh, were you? You
Like
mentioned the sewer.
potentially, we had talked about maybe trying to repave Stonebridge at one point in
Oh.
time out in the future. I was
Absolutely.
thinking something along those lines, but, you know, it's kind of a loose description of what constitutes projects in the public interest and for this grant program, so.
I think Stonebridge would be a priority, right?
Yeah, I mean, can we apply for more than one project?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, let's apply for several.
I've never seen anybody get more than one in this funding cycle, but there's no limit on what you can apply.
I think the bridge, Old Stonebridge would be a.
Why not?
Yeah, I don't have to know right now, but maybe by the end of this week, if we can think about it and come to a consensus, and we'll work on it next week. It's a good opportunity to get 80% of the project funded.